Language and Cognition by Group 7, Kaitlyn, Kyle, Bryan, and Cira. Language and cognition, how are they related? Recent studies have begun to explore the links between language and cognition. It has given us information and insight how language develops in infancy and early childhood, how it impacts learning and cognitive development, and how it impacts communication and relationships. A recent study done by Waxman and Perzik shows that early investigations of the link between language and cognition focuses mainly on word learning. It shows that infants learn the meaning of a word by using methods of cognition in language, including identifying the ongoing stream of speech, identifying a referent for the word, and establishing a map between the word and its referent. Studies have shown that the early development of speech has implications on both evolutionary and developmental neurosciences. If we can learn more about the link between language and cognition, we can have a better understanding of evolutionary patterns in the brain and how our species developed our form of communication. In the first year of a child's life, we see the greatest period of language development. Language development can be an indicator of future intelligence, speech or learning disabilities, and even mental disabilities. Language is a complex system that sets us apart from every other species on the planet. Because it is a complex system, it involves many areas of the brain. Finding answers to the inner workings of how infants develop language could teach us a lot about the mind and how certain cognitive functions are related. People speak at different rates and speeds. Adults tend to have an easier time differentiating and recognizing speech patterns and comprehending words. Children who are less developmentally advanced have a harder time comprehending speech at accelerated rates, and this is especially prevalent in children with speech impairments. Studies show that 5 to 7% of children with speech impairments have a hard time speaking and comprehending any language spoken. Results of a science and response time comprehension study showed that compared to normal children, those with speech impairments only understood about half of the sentences spoken at a faster rate. In order to understand someone with accelerated speech, the listener has to have the cognitive abilities to be able to decode and process the language being spoken. When this cognitive process is disrupted by a learning disability or speech impairment, it can make it very difficult to understand others who are speaking quickly. Similar to our reading study, which we'll talk about in a second, when we talk slower, it allows our brains to fully process and comprehend what the individual is saying. Reading is a high-level cognitive task. Rather than speech, it is a human activity that has the most numerous and intimate connections with language. Reading involves the translation of visual symbols to words in the language that the text is written in. Not only is translation from symbols to words occurring, but the reader must also understand the context of and inferences in the text. Evidence suggests that a reader constructs the situational model while reading. This model contains the most recent interpretation of the text and its implied inferences, and also provides a global context of the text to assist the reader in interpretation. Text can be written in any degree of difficulty for the reader. Using more sophisticated language can create challenges for the reader in constructing an effective situational model. The breakdown of this model can cause the reader to poorly understand the material. It also may increase the time needed to read and comprehend the text. Additionally, it presents an added challenge to the reader to pay attention, creating more opportunity for the reader's mind to wander from the text. We use communication every day, but do we think about how our conversations are different at different times? Sometimes when things are heated, we say things that we don't mean. When things don't go our way, or we tend to not get what we want, we sometimes pressure others and show our frustration thinking only about ourselves. Doing this continually is a form of narcissism. Communication has a huge impact on all of those around us. When we think negatively of someone or something, we reflect that by our attitudes, and our attitude can be contagious. When we have these thoughts or struggles on others, we tend to get down on ourselves. Within employment, narcissism should have no place because it should be the customer's needs that are more important than our needs. Our words have a large impact on each other, so choose what you say wisely. You may not even know it, but you could be hurting those that are closest to you. As we can see, it is important to understand the link between cognition and language. It has had and will have implications on our understanding of evolution and neuroscience, and gives us insight that we can further study into complex brain functioning. What we learn about learning processes can help us develop better teaching and study techniques, as well as learn how to treat and overcome certain learning disabilities. It even helps us learn how to communicate better and create stronger, healthier relationships in which individuals can connect in a more appropriate ways. Research into the link between language and cognition has opened many doors and will continue to do so in the future.